Okay, so you guys sent over this article about Jordan Peterson, and, well, let's just say it piqued our interest. Apparently, he might be taking legal action against Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild story.
Accusations of Russian funding and defamation, political clashes. Sounds like a recipe for, well, a deep dive, if you ask me.
It's definitely got all the ingredients. And what makes this case particularly fascinating is that it goes way beyond just a war of words. It really digs into some major issues we're facing today. Foreign interference, freedom of speech, the role of social media in politics.
Exactly. I mean, we see these things playing out all the time now, but this case brings it all together in a way.
Right. And just to set the stage for listeners who might not be familiar with him, Jordan Peterson is, well, he's a big name. Psychologist, author, media personality. He's known for his books, his lectures,
And let's just say he's not afraid to share his opinions.
to put it mildly.
Hmm.
But again, this isn't just about someone voicing strong opinions. The context here is crucial. Trudeau didn't just mention this casually. He made these accusations about Peterson while under oath.
Under oath.
Yeah, during his testimony at the public inquiry into foreign interference.
Right, right. Which, I mean, that completely changes things. So this isn't just some political jab. This is serious stuff.
Absolutely. This inquiry is a big deal. It's a formal investigation into attempts by foreign governments to, well, meddle in Canadian elections, influence our political systems, all of that.
So, high stakes. This isn't just about hurt feelings. We're talking about potential threats to, like, our democracy.
Exactly.
Okay, so what exactly did Trudeau say about Peterson? What are the specifics here?
So in a nutshell, Trudeau alleged that Peterson is, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically that he's part of a network of individuals who've been influenced by and are now amplifying pro-Russian propaganda.
Wow.
Yeah. And he suggested that Peterson's work, particularly what he's putting out online, aligns with, how did you put it? It was something like it aligns with Russian disinformation campaigns.
So implying that Peterson is, what, knowingly spreading Russian propaganda?
Well, he didn't explicitly say knowingly.
I mean, that's a heavy accusation. What has Peterson said about all of this?
Oh, he denies it completely, calls the allegations completely unfounded. He sees this as a blatant attempt to silence him and others who share his viewpoints.
Which, I mean, I'm not taking sides here, but it does seem strange that Trudeau would make such a serious accusation without presenting any, like, actual evidence.
And that's what makes the situation so fascinating. Trudeau's claims have really ignited this debate about the burden of proof, especially when it comes to accusations of foreign interference.
Yeah, I mean, how much evidence is enough evidence? Where do you even draw that line?
Exactly. It's a really tricky issue. Some people argue that, look, this issue of foreign interference is so serious, it demands a certain level of caution. Even without, like, irrefutable evidence, it needs to be addressed. But then others worry that, making accusations without solid proof sets a dangerous precedent.
Yeah, that it could be used to silence dissenting voices, stifle debate.
Exactly. And it becomes this question of, well, who gets to decide what's dangerous, what's acceptable speech?
It's a slippery slope. And it's not just Peterson, right? I remember from the article that Trudeau made similar accusations against other members of the Conservative Party.
He did. During his testimony, he also called out Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader.
What did he say about Poilievre specifically?
Well, he implied that several current and even former Conservative parliamentarians are either directly involved in or are being targeted by foreign interference.
Okay, so he's basically saying the Conservatives are in bed with foreign agents. Not mincing words there.
It's a pretty bold claim, to say the least. And he specifically went after Poilievre for not having top-level security clearance, framing it as a refusal to engage with this whole issue of foreign interference.
Interesting. So is he saying that Poilievre is somehow soft on foreign interference?
I think that's the implication, yeah. And this is where it gets even more intriguing, because the article mentions that Peterson, just a week before Trudeau made these accusations, he released this whole podcast episode dedicated to exposing foreign manipulation tactics.
Wait, so you're telling me that Peterson was calling out foreign interference like right before Trudeau accused him of being involved in it?
It's pretty ironic, right? And get this, he specifically named Russia, China, and Iran as the main culprits. Talk about bad timing.
That is wild. Okay, so this is clearly about way more than just Peterson and whether or not he got money from Russia. This feels way bigger now.
Oh, absolutely. This has blown up into a full-on political battle. And honestly, this isn't even the first time we've seen these accusations of foreign interference being thrown around as, like, political weapons in Canada.
Yeah, it's like a go-to move these days,
Both sides of the aisle have used it in recent years.
which is a little concerning when you really think about it. I mean, if we keep tossing out these accusations so casually, doesn't that make it harder to take them seriously when it really matters?
That's the danger.
Right.
It creates this atmosphere of, like, skepticism.
Yeah.
Makes it harder for people to trust what they hear.
Yeah, exactly. How are we supposed to figure out what's real and what's not?
And it makes it almost impossible to have a reasonable, nuanced conversation about this issue,
Yeah.
because foreign interference is a serious thing. It's a real threat to democracies, not just in Canada, but globally. It sows division, erodes public trust, all of that.
Okay, so circling back to Poilievre for a second, how has he responded to these accusations from Trudeau?
Oh, he's denied everything. Calls the allegations baseless, politically motivated, the whole 9 yards. He's even gone as far as accusing Trudeau of straight-up lying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's demanding that Trudeau release the names of these parliamentarians he claims are involved.
So we've got a lot of finger pointing going on, but not a lot of concrete evidence. It's like a political circus out there.
You said it. And it's the Canadian people who end up losing out in this whole mess.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose trust in your institutions, your leaders, it creates this void. And that void can be easily exploited, often by the very actors who are worried about foreign agents.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? We get so caught up in these accusations that we become more divided, more vulnerable, which is exactly what foreign actors want.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle. And this whole case, with all its irony and lack of transparency, really highlights just how complicated this issue is.
So where do we even go from here? How do we talk about foreign interference without it just turning into, like, a political football?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's something we all need to be thinking about.
It really makes you realize how important critical thinking is, doesn't it? How are we supposed to navigate this whole landscape of accusations and, well, frankly, just noise?
It's tough, and it's more important than ever to be, well, discerning.
Mm.
We can't just take information at face value anymore, right?
Mm.
Especially when it comes from people or groups who have a dog in the fight.
Right, everyone's got an agenda.
Exactly. So it's about looking beyond the headlines, checking those sources, being willing to engage with viewpoints that are different from your own, even if you disagree with them. Just be open.
So it's not just about being informed, it's about being savvy about the information you come across.
Think of it like this. In a world that's just drowning in information, being able to look at that information critically is like a superpower.
I like that. A superpower.
Yeah, it lets you cut through all the noise, spot the bias, and then you can form your own, informed opinions.
So this whole Peterson-Trudeau thing, as messy as it is, could actually be a good thing.
It's a wake-up call.
Yeah. It reminds us that we can't just sit back and passively take in whatever's being thrown at us.
We have to be active participants, ask questions, challenge assumptions, look for different points of view.
And be willing to have our own assumptions challenged too, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. None of us are immune to bias. We all come to the table with our own baggage. It's about being aware of it, being open to having your mind changed.
Yeah, it's like that saying, strong opinions, loosely held. You got to be open to changing your mind when new information comes to light.
Exactly. Be open to dialogue, even with people you disagree with. That's how we grow.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. Thanks for breaking this all down for us.
Anytime. These are important conversations to have.
And to everyone listening, keep asking those tough questions, stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.